Well, that was really good to hear directly from our legislators about what we can expect and what we need to do. I know people are sort of moving around and they're starting getting anxious and want to get some legs stretched and whatnot, but we do have the next two presenters that are going to be discussing a number of pressing issues related to reducing our state's waste. And as you've heard sort of throughout, that is one of the major issues that we think is going to be moving, as John Michael Parker said. That's a major push this session. It's been building up. So um, there's also going to be legislation to address some of these issues and to discuss the state of waste reduction in Connecticut and some of the policies that are looking to be put in place. Our two experts in that area. We have Jennifer Heaton-Jones. Many of you probably know her. She's a leading voice in sustainable waste management and extended producer responsibility, serving as the executive director of the Housatonic Resources Recovery Authority, HRRA, and a driving force behind Connecticut's organics diversion and composting innovations. She's widely recognized for her policy leadership, regional program development, and commitment to educating communities while advocating environmental stewardship across the state and beyond. So we've got a real expert here. Karen Saggese, you might remember her from last summit. She's the site director for Food Rescue US for the Fairfield County and co-leads the Greenwich Food Shed Alliance. As an expert in food policy and community building, she works to bridge the gap between food insecurity, waste reduction, and climate action. Karen chairs the Connecticut Zero Waste Coalition Organics Subcommittee. She works also with the Greenwich Sustainability Committee's food system sector and the food sovereignty collection. So Karen is a dedicated advocate for a more just, sustainable, and resilient food system. So let me just invite you both up. They're going to be speaking separately. There's, again, not a panel. Okay.
Oh, okay. I can well. All right, can you hear me? All right. Thank you, Lori. Let's see if we can capture your attention after that amazing session. I'm going to start with tires. Do we have a presentation? Okay, entertain you with my graphics here. So in 2023, Connecticut became the first state in the country to pass statewide extended producer responsibility EPR program for tires through Public Act 2362. I will take a moment to say, and that is thanks to the championship of Representative Joe Gresco, who I promised I would behave today. Be careful what I say. The law requires, and this is really important, everyone in this room, I'm sure, has something to do with a tire. So this impacts you. The tire requires tire manufacturers to finance and operate a statewide stewardship program to collect, recycle, or properly dispose of tires sold into the state. And it takes effect this March of 2026. The goal, and this is a very important goal, the goal is to curb illegal dumping, to increase recycling and retreading, and remove the financial burden from municipalities and the consumers. As implementation has begun, stakeholders are now seeking a targeted amendment. This is where we need your help. Specifically to require tire retailers to participate in the program. Retailers are a critical point of collection because this is where consumers naturally dispose of their unwanted tires when purchasing new ones. However, many retailers do not plan to participate, in part because the current system allows them to charge their own tire disposal fees, which generates revenue for them. Under the new EPR system, program funding will come from the manufacturers through fees assessed at the wholesale level. I want you to think about that. The manufacturers are going to pay for this program as part of the cost of buying a new tire, but the retailers have the ability to still charge their fees on top of that. So what it means is that consumers, it will be passed on to the consumers, and the consumers will be paying twice. So without a mandatory retail participation, that will happen. And once through the embedded EPR fee included in the tire purchase, and again at the retailer, if the retailer opts out and continues using their own disposal system. This creates this ongoing issue of transparency and fairness for the consumer and undermines our goals of our EPR program. I'll go to the next slide, please. So I'm going to talk about the SMM funding, the grants to municipalities. We need to fund a better system. The Connecticut Sustainable Material Management Grant has been an important source of support for towns that want to move forward with innovative waste reduction strategies. These funds have helped municipalities launch programs like Pay As You Throw, food scraps collection, and other initiatives that reduce disposal costs and make local waste systems more sustainable. However, the structure of the program also presents challenges because the funding is controlled directly by DEEP. The agency largely determines which initiatives we as municipalities should pursue. While the intentions are good, waste management is a highly complex system with multiple streams. Some are easy to reduce or repurpose, while others are very difficult and costly to manage. And towns often have a deep understanding of their own local material challenges, but limited flexibility in tailoring solutions that meet those specific needs. Another major constraint is infrastructure. Many municipalities have transfer stations that are outdated, aging facilities that have seen little to no investment or modernization in decades. Without significant upgrades, it's difficult for towns to implement new programs like Pay As You Throw and organics, even when grant funding is available. Expecting major innovation without first rebuilding the foundation leaves municipalities struggling to keep up. What towns truly need is greater flexibility, more room to design solutions that address their local conditions rather than applying a single statewide model. A useful comparison comes from Colorado, where the State Department of Public Health and Environment partners with a nonprofit organization to distribute recycling and waste diversion grants. This approach opens funding to both public and private entities, increasing creativity and ensures that the people closest to the challenges can shape the solutions. It's a model that empowers communities and supports a more diverse set of waste reduction strategies. And the next slide regarding the Connecticut Recycle CT Foundation is a bridge to this, to the SMM funding. For those of you who don't know about the Recycle CT Foundation, it is a nonprofit organization. It was established in 2014 through Public Act 1494. It was created to support Connecticut's efforts to manage materials more sustainably and to help the public understand the importance of reducing waste, reusing materials, recycling effectively, and expanding composting efforts. Its mission centers on strengthening statewide education and outreach because no matter how innovative our waste reduction programs are, they only succeed if our residents understand how to participate. Historically, the foundation received funding from DEEP, but those resources are now very minimal. As the state continues to invest significant sustainable material management funds into new programs like food scraps collection, unit-based pricing, and other waste reduction strategies, there is a growing gap between system innovation and public education and awareness. Without a strong, well-funded education and engagement infrastructure, these programs cannot reach their full potential. That's why I'm proposing legislation to support the Recycle CT Foundation and provide it with a sustainable funding source. The foundation is a ready-made, credible vehicle to deliver the education, outreach, and public engagement necessary to ensure Connecticut's SMM initiatives are understood, accessible, and successful in every community. Strengthening our Recycle CT Foundation strengthens the entire waste reduction system. And Connecticut's bottle bill. And thank you for Representative Parker for mentioning it. Connecticut's updated bottle redemption system is demonstrating strong signs of success. I want that to be very clear. It is successful. Since the most recent program upgrades took effect, consumers have responded positively to expanded eligible containers, improved access to redemption locations, and the increase of deposits to 10 cents. For an example, Invipco reports that same-store RVM redemptions, reverse vending machines, are up 37% compared to 2023, showing that when people have more convenient options and more clarity, they do participate, and the system is working as intended. However, the most significant challenge facing the bottle bill today is not performance, it's fraud. Fraudulent activities threaten both the integrity and the financial stability of the program. Cross-border fraud remains a major issue, with containers purchased out of the state being redeemed in Connecticut. There is also concern about online sale loopholes, fraud connected to redeemers, and instances of redirected inventory from big box stores. So strengthening the DSA audit authority and closing these gaps is essential for protecting the system. And in closing, my last slide, it is about standing out and taking action, all of you. As we look across these issues, the message is clear. Connecticut has the right frameworks in place to modernize our waste system, but each program needs targeted action to reach its full potential. For the tire EPR law, we need to strengthen the system by requiring retail participation so consumers aren't double charged and the statewide collection network functions as intended. For SMM funding, we must give municipalities more flexibility and ensure investments include the infrastructure upgrades needed to support innovative waste reduction programs. The Recycle CT Foundation also needs a sustainable funding source so it can fulfill its critical role in educating residents, because no waste program succeeds without public understanding and participation. And finally, the bottle bill is working, but fraud is threatening its success. Closing loopholes, improving audit authority, and addressing cross-border and inventory-related fraud are essential steps. These are all solvable problems. What we need now is legislative support, stakeholder alignment, and the willingness to close the gaps that keep good programs from becoming great. Connecticut has already shown leadership. Now we must act to ensure these systems operate fairly, transparently, and effectively for all residents. So I ask you to stand up and help us take action. Each and every one of you create waste. I watched today as we created a lot of waste together, collectively. And you have to think about this. You do it every single day. It has to be managed. It has to go somewhere. It's going to a waste energy plant or it's going to a landfill. We only have two places: burn it or bury it. Be a part of the change as an individual. Be a part of the change together as a community. Rethink how you manage your own waste, how you manage your organics, your recycling, your textiles, your e-waste. Don't take for granted the resources we have today. They may not be here tomorrow. So take your action. You can make a difference every day in your own daily actions when it comes to waste. And I thank you for your time for listening.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you to Lori and the League for having me here today. Connecticut is at a breaking point that most of our citizens never see. For decades, we were self-sufficient, managing our own waste within our own borders. But when the Mira facility closed its doors in 2022, that era ended. Today, we are in a state of emergency. Every single day, a caravan of heavy trucks leaves this state, carrying over 1 million tons of trash a year to landfills as far away as Ohio and Pennsylvania. This is more than an environmental failure. It is a massive economic liability. We are literally paying millions of dollars to ship our problems across state lines, leaving our taxpayers at the mercy of out-of-state pricing and shrinking landfill space. If we want to fix this, we have to look at what's actually in those trucks. 24% of Connecticut's municipal waste, roughly, is food. Think about the irony of that. In the United States, we let 40% of our food supply go uneaten. Worse yet, 70% of the food we toss into the trash was perfectly edible. This is a resource drain. We, when we throw away a meal, we aren't just throwing away calories. We are throwing away the 21% of all fresh water that's used to grow that wasted food. We're throwing away the labor of farmers, the fuel of transporters, and the health of our soil. But the most heartbreaking part of this trash isn't the environmental toll, it's the human toll. While we fill out of state landfills with edible food, 1 in 7 of our neighbors here in Connecticut is going hungry. 1 in 6 of our children doesn't know where the next meal is coming from. Our food insecurity rate has spiked 40% since 2020. We have officially overtaken Maine for the highest food insecurity rate in New England. We are currently third in the entire Northeast and Mid-Atlantic states, behind only New York and Virginia for food insecurity rate. We are throwing away the very solution to a hunger crisis that is haunting our streets. And for the scraps that truly can't be eaten, from a climate perspective, food waste is a methane bomb. In anaerobic landfill conditions, organics produce methane, a greenhouse gas 80 times more potent than carbon dioxide over a 20-year horizon. Because food is heavy and full of water, it makes our trash harder to move, and more expensive to haul, and more toxic to the planet. So we need to look at our disposal hierarchy. Next slide, please. We must shift from just dealing with our waste as disposal to utilizing the EPA wasted food scale, prioritizing source reduction, buying only what we need, food donation, redirecting that edible food to people and animals, and composting and anaerobic digestion, converting scraps into energy or nutrient-rich compost. By keeping our food in our waste stream, we are throwing away waste that should be wealth, whether by providing donated meals or nutrient-rich compost. The 2025 legislative session, specifically through HB 6917, attempted to address these systemic gaps. While we have seen progress in the continued rollout of the commercial organics recycling law to now include large educational institutions coming online this year, we face a missing middle. Efforts to mandate food donation plans for large-scale producers, universal household food waste separation, and broader single-use plastic bans struggled to cross the finish line on the final day, highlighting the political difficulty of systemic change. This legislative inertia leaves us without the regulatory framework necessary to achieve true scale. We must move beyond fragmented mandates and implement a phased timeline for universal residential diversion. As Jen touched on with the Colorado example, we need to have a dedicated capital engine if we want systemic change. We should reframe the existing waste assessment fee from a trash tax into a strategic infrastructure fund. Currently, these funds are absorbed into the general fund. We propose a strict dedication of the $1.50 per ton fee to be reinvested into local infrastructure, perhaps via Recycle CT or an institution such as Recycle CT, who can make sure that it gets to more than just the municipalities and also educates and makes this a real standing solution. We need regional composting hubs and anaerobic digesters right here in Connecticut that will reduce the miles per ton of organic processing and convert our organic waste into renewable energy and high-value soil amendments. If we do nothing, the future is certain. Skyrocketing municipal taxes, rising hunger, and dependence on other states' trash systems. But there is another way. We must move toward a circular economy. We must move beyond schools and large businesses. Connecticut needs a clear, phased timeline for universal residential food scrap separation to remove organics from the waste stream entirely. We must hold large-scale entities accountable to the electronic reporting requirements for food donation and diversion. We must prioritize feeding people over filling landfills. We cannot solve a waste crisis while throwing away the solution. Currently, food is 24% of our trash, driving up costs for every town in this state. It's time to close the loop. Let's stop paying to bury our resources in Ohio and start investing those dollars back into our citizens and our soil. Let's turn our waste into wealth. Thank you.